Hey, Rick, we had Kristina on today, and wow, the knowledge and the stories you get from her is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's interesting because, coming from the former USSR, she has a lot of great stories. Mm-hmm. She has a lot of life experience that most of us don't have because we didn't immigrate from another country. And then she's a chef, or she's a cook who loves to cook.
Yep.
And it's very interesting to listen to somebody who talks about something they just really love.
Yes, I mean, and this show, it goes down the rabbit holes. So if you're wanting to listen to something, and I don't care what you're doing, this one is a phenomenal one to listen to, just because the way she goes through everything is phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. So she's very interesting. Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus, your ultimate guide to the dynamic world of real estate in Indiana. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 24 years.
And I'm Ian Arnold, a loan officer on Rick's hardworking mortgage team, and we are both with Advisors Mortgage Group. Together, we'll empower you with expert advice, market trends, and successful stories from guru realtors and local experts.
Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or pro, join us as we navigate the thriving Indy real estate market.
Now get ready to unlock the doors of success, one episode at a time.
Well, today we've got somebody all the way from Russia. Well, the former USSR, I better say it correctly, right?
Yeah.
It's the former USSR.
Mm-hmm. I'm Armenian, but I was born and raised in Uzbekistan, which is like 200 miles from Afghanistan.
Okay.
So that's that south part of former USSR.
Yeah, well, the former USSR is huge.
11 time zones.
Yeah.
Even after they separated of all the stans, still 11 time zones.
11 time zones. Yeah, it's amazing. So I really want to hear your story before you got into real estate, like where you grew up, those type of things. Before we do that, though, why don't you introduce yourself? Give everybody, I know it's Kristina. I'm not even going to try the last name.
It's Akopchanova. And it's been shortened to the AKO. So it's Ako.
Ako.
So it's easier for, and I live in Indianapolis since May 5th, 1994. So next year will be 30 years.
Wow. So you're a Hoosier.
I am. I was born on the south side. I'm going to die on the south side.
So what made you even choose Indiana?
My ex-husband's parents live in Indiana, so we came over and joined their family.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I figured it had to do something with family, but it's just one of those weird places. Let's just go to Indiana, not New York, California, Florida.
Yeah, I actually heard a few times, like, why would you choose Indiana? But I could tell you that one of the interesting things about immigration, that you can create a family, not from people that related to you by blood. Mm-hmm. You can create your family from the group of friends. And you choose. And that's what the family is the most important. And Indiana is a family tradition. It's a family state that works.
Yep. It's also, I think, a pretty state. You travel other places and they look different, but when you fly into Indiana, it's in the summer at least, it's green. It can be very pretty. I think it's a very pretty state.
A lot of people my client moving from California, moving from different states, and like, why would you want to live in Indiana? Like, we have an amazing fall, long and warm, and Indiana, like in Russian, there is an expression that a heart of a beautiful woman is, could be flaky, and in here there is a heart of a beautiful woman, like a weather in Indiana. So it's like, really, in the morning you could be wearing like really heavy coat and everything, and by the afternoon you could be turning on the AC.
Yep. Well, what is it? Even today, it was like 20 when I came into work today. By the time we leave, it'll be like 54 degrees.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, my brother invited me to go for a walk in the park, so I figured, like, if I'm going to be outside when it's 40 degrees, I better be warm.
Yeah, you better be warm, because I'm now cold. I'm cold all the time. I don't know what happened, but it's ridiculous.
You're old.
Okay. I'm old.
we're getting wiser with age.
Yeah. Yes. We hope so.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. But I want to hear more about growing up. Now, how long were you in the former USSR?
I was born in 1970, so I'll be 54 next year. And I was there till I was 22.
Okay.
Then I lived in Moscow for a couple of years. And then immigrated to lovely Indianapolis.
And what was the motivating factor to leave and come to not to Indiana specifically, but leave Russia, former USSR? You're in Moscow, so.
Yeah, there was a time in my life that I look and you go back a couple of years later, and very quickly you realize the difference of how people are, how attitude towards you is, and how different it is from the life overseas. And you choose. Not everyone who immigrates decides to live in the United States. It's a wonderful country. I love it. But some people went back because for them, this is not what they want.
Right.
And the most important part about America is that you have freedom to choose.
Correct.
Yeah. So what was the difference in the perception you had of the U.S. and then the reality of the U.S. when you got here?
I met a gentleman who was African-American gentleman on the plane when I was flying from New York, because there was Moscow, New York, Indianapolis. And I met him on the way to Indianapolis. And he asked me where I'm from. I said, yeah, I'm just immigrating here for good, not for travel. Because, there is a difference between when there's a tourism and there's immigration. And I had a conversation with him with the English that I had at the moment. And the difference that I felt like we all had that, no matter what, we always blamed our country for that. We blamed our government for that. And this guy, when we're sitting there, and I said, what do you love about America? I love America. It's my country. It's like, and I'm like, nobody from my circle of friends were like, I love Russia. I love former USSR. Everybody was blaming it, versus here it was an acceptance, and it was like, okay. And I get to think about it later, how many people that I've met and the clients turn into friends that really love America, love the country, love with all the Democratic or Republican, vaccinated, not vaccinated, black, white, gay, not gay. I mean, they love it and they accept it. And that's the most important part for me.
Yeah. No, I think it's an important part. I think as born and raised here, we don't get to see the differences of what the perception is and what the realities are of our country, just and what it's like to come over. But let's get on. So you came to the U.S., you come to Indiana. Mm-hmm. How long was it before you decided that you were going to be a real estate agent?
We had a conversation, one of my friends at that time, and her brother was a successful dentist, and we were sitting there having tea, and we were talking about like, what would be the good thing for Kristina to do in this country? And he said, all beautiful women here are selling something. Go sell something. Go sell jewelry. Go sell real estate. Go sell cars, yachts, something. Just go sell something. And I'm like, okay. And I went and got into real estate course. And I mean, at that time, it was like really difficult time because I worked I had the job right away. Like I came May 5th and May 11th, I already had a job selling souvenirs at Claypool Court in Embassy Suites downtown.
Okay.
And my English was so at the time, and then the people opening up and closing up those lacquer boxes, jewelry boxes, and somebody said, it's like a casket. I had no idea what casket is. I cannot even tell you how many of this. I said, it opens, closes, and I'm like a casket, and they're like, a casket. I'm like, yeah, like a casket. I didn't even look it up. But I mean, I sold a lot. So, I mean, I kind of like get into it from the perspective, it's fun. Sales is fun.
Right.
Interact. You never know who you're going to meet. And it's kind of like interesting because every person have like a sort of little key that you can find a key, and then once you find it, then you already go, and it might be not a good fit, or might be is, and most of the time it is. So that's kind of how. And then I went to the because I couldn't pass the real estate exam at the time. I went to car sales.
Okay.
And I worked at the Tom Wood for 3 years, and then I worked for Giant Reinbold BMW for 6 years. And after that, I kind of jumped into the real estate already having like a solid customer base.
Right.
And, one of the best compliments I ever heard for me is like, I don't care what you sell. I just want to deal with you. So it's kind of like that dentist was right. He's
Yes.
like, go sell something.
Yes.
Just establish a relationship.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you couldn't pass the test at the start. Was it a language barrier that kept you? Like, I just know different terminologies.
Yeah, I would say it was not a language barrier, but it was understand the few. It's like when you're learning another language, you can be like you read the article, and you look up every word in a dictionary to see what's the point of the article, and it's like long and grueling process. But at some point you reading and you looking, and then some point you get to that point that you reading an article, you do not understand a lot of words, but you get the gist of it, you get the meaning. So that's it's kind of like when you have enough of, and then you understand. At that time, I didn't have it.
Yep.
So this is what in this country you called experience.
Yep.
Because even if you don't know it, but it's kind of like
Just takes time.
in few things from even unpleasant things that you went through, like negative emotions, but you went through it, and you will know in the future how you would behave because you already had that experience, and you can predict certain things and say a lot of times, like when people ask for my advice, I say, okay, it could be like multiple choice in America. That's another difference in education. I started substitute teaching after I turned 50.
Okay.
So, I mean, I see the difference because in Europe, you have in private schools over here, you have that too, that you have a question, they give you a blank piece of paper, and you have to write the answer. Here, even if you don't know the answer, A, B, C, D, there's always a multiple choice. You can have a chance to get it right. So when people ask me for my advice, I say, okay, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4 scenarios. It's easier, or you can have a blank piece of paper, write your own.
Yep. No, I mean, I fully understand that. I mean, my son right now is doing vocab words, and there's certain words, and I'm like, they do definitions, and they had put it in a paragraph, and I'm like, look, now I want you to tell me an example, because, like you said, you can't just write down the definition. That's not using it as an example. So making them to overthink. So I think that's
How old is
huge.
your son?
He's 8.
8. This is the time that the kids actually are learning and striving for success. But you're a good parent.
Yes, I did something right.
Well, his wife's a good parent.
Yes.
All right.
My daughter's 28 and she's getting married next year.
Oh,
and I had that.
congratulations.
Thank you. And she actually, when we were talking about Indiana, and pretty state, she moved to Asheville, North Carolina. And she's like, the mountains. She's like, Mom, I drive around. I can't believe I live here. So it's also
Yeah, it's
pretty
beautiful.
from the completely different perspective. I love to come. She's got 2 big dogs. Anytime
Yep.
she travels, I go babysit the dogs.
So does she have the real estate bug, or
She said, Mom, I love what you do. You got hookups everywhere. But she went into that computer business. So she's doing extremely well. I mean, already makes more money than me. So, I mean, but it's a good world
Yes.
right now for technology. I mean, I understand all the pluses and minuses of it. Like, yeah, everybody says the computers are taking over. They already have. Just in case if you were wondering, you go somewhere, nobody's looking at each other in the eyes.
I know.
Everybody, like, if it wouldn't be for all these devices, we would be sitting there and looking at each other and having conversation without every 15 seconds putting there is a text message. Is the sound okay? Is the video fine? So that kind of thing. So we have an opportunity to really dive into something and see if this conversation will get us somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better to have the conversation. And I put my phone away a lot now because I think it's much better just to look somebody in the eye, talk to them, and actually hear what they have to say.
You know, I was listening to a podcast of the lady who actually does a brain research. And she said, previously when we're talking about philosophy, we sit there and we talk and we kind of like dive into it and we get into the depth. We don't know what. But now everybody is all like surfing on the surface. And having, hey, how are you? And being this and not being able to, as soon as something happens, like, oh, it's not like I'm going to describe it to you, how to explain it to your son and this. No, I'm going to turn around. It's like, oh, look, my daughter went to this and this is how their system was. And I would be showing it to you through the pixels. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be looking at me. You're not going to like think what kind of imagination or experiences I had. You would be looking at something that somebody else already created, put it out there for everyone to see. So where's the, that personality, that thing that we all striving for to be? Like each of us is very different.
Yeah. So I want you to meet more different people, and I want them to talk to you face to face. So if they're wanting to get a hold of you to whether to buy, sell real estate, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
There is my mobile number. I reply to texts, and but probably the most the easiest way it would be from time to time. It's kind of like started like about 10 years ago, 2012. So that 13, 11, yeah. And I started doing cooking parties. Just get together because I don't sell anything via the email. I just don't think any monthly letter you can spread over your bread and butter. And, food is like my attorney says, like, I love to cook. And everybody's like, oh, Kristina, why don't you open your own restaurant? And she says, food is a primary need. You never want to stand between the guy and his primary need. I'm like, okay, I'm not opening the restaurant, but we are, get together a few times a year. It's kind of on a whim. And I've done it in builders models. I rented the space. I've done the commercial kitchen, and we just get together, think of a country, think of a cuisine, and we just cook it. So instead of spending money on Z57 or Z54 automatic whatever that clogs your inbox, and I'll just buy the groceries, we get together, and I get to see my clients, I get to see my friends, most of them are, and we get to do something together. The idea came to me when there was a first conflict between the Russia and Ukraine, and there were so many people that live here for 20 years. So they raised kids here, their kids are friends, and now the conflict there, and they're not in a good state. And they're both my clients. It's like Republican, Democrat. I mean, what? Just because he's a Republican, I'm not going to invite him in? No, I don't care. I mean, politics is not something that I think should be in our everyday basis. Everyday basis, how people we are. Yep. And food is a primary need. So I got Ukrainians, I got Russians, one peeling potatoes, one peeling carrots, we're making one borscht. At the end of the evening, we found out that there are more things than to the to the country where you do not longer live. And you have a lot of things in common, but politics, to be together, to not be in a state of conflict.
So, since you're talking about food and everything, what is your favorite home country dish?
I stopped eating meat in 2017. So I have, I can tell you about home country dish before that. I actually had a lamb, and I can tell you like the one right now, because I mean, once you stop eating meat, you discover a lot of other things about the beans and greens and all the other things with the fruit that you can experiment. And you have, so dish previously would be hashlama. It's kind of like layers of lamb and onions and potatoes. And, in the weather like that, meat and potatoes, a lot of onions and a lot of spices. It's on a cast iron, and it cooks without any water. So it's kind of all in its own juices. So that would be that. And right now would be, say, my favorite is eggplant caviar. It's a vegetable dish. It's best if you have everything cut and prepared, because it's prepared on a very high flame and very quickly. You have to mix it, So you have different vegetables and the eggplants at the end, and it turns out it's great hot. My American boyfriend, for some reason, wants it hot. And everyone else who I know from Russia, they prefer it as a cold appetizer after vodka.
Oh, okay.
So, something you may not know, Rick actually doesn't eat meat either. He stopped it years ago.
Yeah, I had to stop years ago.
So, any recipes you have, send them to him and his wife.
Well, absolutely. No problem. Come over to my cooking party. I have, last time I had 75 people.
Wow.
We had this time I kind of made it without any theme. It was a musical one. I have a lady friend that I help to kind of get acquainted in the United States. She immigrated. She's Ukrainian, but she lived 34 years in Cuba. So she speaks fluent Spanish, fluent Russian and Ukrainian, learning English, learning how to drive. So those are the challenges in her family that they have. But she's a great piano player. She got absolutely hearing. And I found one of my friends, she had a wonderful instrument and a wonderful kitchen in the same area. So that's where we had it. Well, she got a fantastic house in Zionsville, and this is obviously to accommodate 75 people. And she was adamant about that I'm not going to use the disposable dishes. I have enough to serve everyone. So we had a musical party, and that's why we had a great time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, since we didn't get the phone number, your phone number, if anybody would like to get a hold of you, call or text, is 317-441-8752.
Yeah, that's my mobile.
That's your mobile. It's 317-441-8752, correct? Mm-hmm. All right. If you want to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938.
All right. So, we already basically got into what you do for fun, because it sounds like cooking's where it's at for you.
It is. It's kind of like everybody have to express themselves through art. Somebody paints, somebody sews, somebody, I don't know, dance ballet.
Yeah. All right. So
that's Ian. He's a ballet dancer.
Yeah.
Come on, you look good in that.
Don't tell my wife that. All right. So we'll get into the question of the week. And I'm actually really curious on this one. What was your first car?
My first car was Eagle Premier.
Oh,
and
really?
It had a seat belt that going in and on. I have been stuck with the dead battery so many times, and I was pregnant at the time, and it was just such a pain. But we had two of them. Yeah, Eagle Premier.
I'm sorry, because they were not very good cars.
Somebody told me you have to buy American because, you come to America, you have to buy American.
Yeah, I was in the car business too, and I ran a Jeep Eagle store.
Yeah.
So we sold the Eagle Premier.
Yeah.
It was not a very good car.
Yeah.
He didn't say that when he sold them, though. He's like, this is the greatest car ever.
Well, I kind of like figure out that, when I was at the Townwood, and it was 3 lines that were sold: Nissan, Subaru, Volkswagen. And, kind of, from the community, somebody knows that you work in a car business, and they would come and you would expand you sell cars. And I had not an easy trajectory in that department, but I mean, you in that perspective that you look at it, and it's your income. Whatever you sell, this is actually one of the things between the car business and real estate. You have to learn a lot of patience, because with the car business, boom, you sold, you get paid on Friday.
Yes.
Here you sold, you get paid sometimes in 6 months.
Yeah. It's a hard transition. I felt the same thing when I switched. I went to new home sales, and it's the same thing. It takes 5 months to build a house, right? So it took a long time.
But then with the cars, it's always leasing. It's like always in the pipeline. The longer you stick to it and you talk to the clients, I mean, I don't know, you continue monitoring that relationship. For any note that you write, even if it's printed from the dealership, happy anniversary or whatever, like, obviously, but you have an opportunity to handwrite something personal, something that you discovered about these people, and something that you remembered, and they would remember too.
I like the car business. I like mortgages a lot better. There's a lot of things that I didn't like about the car business, but I all in all, I enjoyed it. But I love cars. That's why you got all this car stuff around, because I love cars. So I have all this car stuff.
What do you think about the electric cars?
I would have an electric car, except number one, they don't go far enough. And even though I just drive back and forth to work, if I want to go and drive somewhere, I don't want to have to worry about getting electric, getting it charged. And I've heard some real big horror stories of pulling up to a charging station and there's no place to charge. And I guess they're not all regulated, so you can pull up and they're charging you ridiculous fees. But I love the power and the speed of an electric car. And I don't know why they do this. They put all these beautiful computers and everything in an electric car, huge screens, but they don't in a gas powered car, and I don't understand why. There's no reason in my mind that they can't have that in any car. So I would have one, and I will once they get it to the point where they have enough. You can go far enough on it, or you can charge quicker, or something like that. My other issue with an electric car is we don't have enough electricity as it is. Right? California has rolling brownouts, and we already have electrical shortages. If everybody ends up with electric cars, how are we going to charge them all?
You forgot about disposing those expensive batteries.
Yeah, and it's really bad to make the batteries too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, few remarks of what you said. I love cars too. I mean, I'm more prone to German engineering. I went to Europe a couple of times to pick up a BMW there on the European delivery. After COVID, they stopped it. I wanted to do it third time. And from the electric standpoint, I would say last time I saw someone, I was sitting in the car with other people, and the driver, who's got Tesla, is that, this computer doesn't work. I have to, and he got out, locked the car, unlocked the car, got in, and then the car. And I'm like, man, it's the first time that I see that you actually, for your automobile, not your automobile is for you. And I'm not, that for me, if I don't understand computers, there is a client that I had about like a 7 Series BMW, and he had like this it's got 700 plus functions, and this is iDrive, and he's like, you say, wait, that I can just turn it on, just drive it. I wanted just a button that turns it all off. Just want to drive the car. I want to hear the sound of the engine. And this is for me why I drove electric car for like 3 months. And I mean, it's great, but there's no sound of the engine.
Yeah, that's the other thing I don't like about them.
It's like you want to have, it's like, you have that pedal and the feedback. Even if you like the stick shift, then there is another thing of a balance you have to think of. But you doing something, you participating in the drive. Because with the self-driving cars, I love when someone else is driving and I have an opportunity to do something on my phone or read a book. But it's if you're behind the wheel, that's the thing that you do not like. It's freedom you don't have. You do not have a freedom. If tomorrow you want to go to Chicago and back, you don't have that freedom with the electric car.
Yeah, that is one of the things that would drive me crazy. Now, the self-driving cars you hit on, I love to drive, but I can't wait till they have good, solid self-driving cars, which I don't think is that far off. Now that they have AI, I think we're going to get self-driving cars, because we had to take my parents' car keys away, right? And I know that's what happens as you get older. I want to be able to get in the car, I don't care, and say, take me here, and it drives me there. That'll be a beautiful thing.
It's gonna be the same like Alexa,
Yeah.
play this, and it will be fine.
Yeah, except for I can't remember her name.
Come on. Not that bad.
No, I mean, I love electric cars. I mean, I even drive a hybrid myself, and my wife has a hybrid.
Hybrid's different. I
Yes.
have a hybrid in a heartbeat. I don't have a problem with a hybrid.
But I will say it's at the infancy of it. I mean, you got to think up until Tesla's, you can only go roughly 80 to 100 miles. Now Tesla changed it and they got higher, so now other companies are trying to beat them. But it's still it's basically at the infancy stage. I mean, you give it another 20, 30 years to see where we could be, would be a game changer. But it's a big difference, like you said, though, when you're talking about the sound, because even now, even your BMW, your newer Mercedes, they all have auto shut off. And if you pull up to a stop sign and it automatically shuts off, everybody thinks their car stalled if they're not used to it. And sometimes, like, we all sold cars, Rick did, I did, and you'd have to tell people, look, it has an auto, so you can turn this on and off. If not, they're like, something happened to the car. And it's just, you got to get accustomed to some of the newer stuff.
Well, it's the same thing with the rear sleep differential when they have all this dynamic stability control button. You can turn it off if it's really slippery and you know how to drive it, because this is kind of like a training wheel for just in case if you slip, just in case if you get on black ice. This is something for you to do. No one can pump your brakes 18 times per second. Only ABS would. But the only way you can do it, if it's sliding ice, the only way to do it is to downshift. That's how you slow. You don't do the brakes. You downshift. And that's it all about you as a driver, and all about the weather conditions that I love driving in Europe, and I love how here it is not aggressive and everybody drive in their lane, and 95% of people obey the rules.
She hasn't been on 465. No. How long you lived here and you haven't been on 465?
Oh, come on. I'm just not an aggressive driver. Used to be. They took a couple of race courses, Midway, Ohio, and Las Vegas, in this, when they put like a. Then I realized what helmet hair is, because there's no way to put it up. I mean, the helmet would not fit. There's no way to do the ponytail in it, so you have to do this and the helmet hair, and it's all squished in here. It's just.
Yeah, Rick has
experience.
Rick has that issue.
I don't have that issue. I haven't had that issue in years, many, many years. So let's get back to real estate a little bit. What would you say your superpower or superpowers are as it comes to real estate?
I think most of my persona is about discovering what this person's real needs are. And that typically goes through the conversation, not right away. But with time, my ability to see things through, not that you're closing in separate rooms. You at this transaction, and everyone, the selling side, the buying side, the agents, the title, the mortgage, all of this billions of dollars industries that are around real estate, they all happy, and they all at the closing table, they all think they got to do deal. So.
Yeah, I just, the closing is an interesting time. I've been to I don't know how many closings, because I went to every closing when I sold new homes, and I've been to just probably thousands of closings. I've only had one where the seller and buyer couldn't be in the same room.
No, that's a good ratio. You
Yeah.
know how in the car business you talk to 10 people. If you sell to 3, that's great. If you sell to 7, you do this. So in real estate, when it comes to averages, you know, I've seen people trying to sell you 100 people that you call, and only 3 of them that you close. That your closing ratio is 3% out of 100. So I think if you are in a position that you understand that this is nothing you can do, those are unresolved issues with there way before you got there.
That's right.
This is not something that you can, schmooze over.
No.
No. So you close the different rooms.
Yeah.
All right. So I got a question. I'm kind of curious. You may not know the answer, and if you don't, it's okay. But we've had a lot of people that either moved from Mexico to here to sell real estate. We've had people from the Middle East and everything. But is there a difference in the way real estate is done over there compared to here?
Very much so. The couple things just from the perspective. I mean, our title company had like a PowerPoint presentation about all kinds of notary public stamps and everything else that looks so legit. And they just like, they're not. So a lot of things, how they done, I mean, of course, if you're not gonna grease the wheel, nothing is gonna happen. So anything, try to push the commercial hood or stove or something else without bribing the inspector. But that's not how it is here. So here, done, there is a certain process. There's a procedures. Yes, sometimes you can bend the rules a little bit to move it forward, but you are not in a position that you do not feel unsafe. Mm-hmm. I mean, many years ago, when a friend of mine, I told her that I got into real estate like in 2005, and she said, "You know what I do? First time that I interview a client in Moscow, like they wanted, because they didn't have hipoteca, which is the same as Spanish mortgage, hipoteca." Mm-hmm. They didn't have it at the time, so all the transactions are cash. And Moscow, the prices like in New York. She said the first thing I ask is if they have a piece of paper from from the doctor that they're sane, that they can go. I'm not kidding. So they go through the transaction. So imagine this conversation here. Hello, how are you? And this. I just want to make sure you're not crazy before we start doing the paperwork. It's very different.
I would think you'd want to make sure they're rich too.
No, you just can't be crazy. So, how did you get going? I mean, I know. Did you just use your client base off of selling cars, or did you try to promote yourself? How did you fully get going?
I remember that when I was in the car business, in Indiana, it's forbidden by the NL law to sell the cars on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I remember that every time that I drove by, there was people walking around the cars and, talking to people. And that's how I would say in real estate, because I jumped into real estate because the market was like right now. It's like stagnant. It was stagnant. But transaction on transaction, I realized that cars are a depreciating asset.
Yes, they are.
I mean, except some collectible.
Right. Yeah, collectible cars are different.
Homes are not like that. It's a real estate. This is something you invest, and you would hope in most of the cases to get your money back plus some.
Right.
And we've been in fluctuating market, and it's not like it was during the COVID times. But that's what I think in many cases helped us to go through with it, because I was so busy. It was just extremely busy during that time. I'm glad that we were considered valuable enough that we're allowed to travel. Because I mean we were like really doing stuff and making it happen. And one of the things we were talking about the closing, during that time I realized that even if you're making money, but you're not getting that emotional part of, because it was all when it went remote. It went completely remote. So you do not have that client, because for people who are extroverts, it's an important part of what they do. I mean, dollar signs, yeah, of course. But the personal attachment, the agenda for the years to come, you see the kids being born, you see the kids go to college. I mean, it's
cook dinner for
great
'em.
profession. When somebody's like, oh, real estate, it's such a, I'm like, real estate is like life. I mean, somebody always getting married, somebody's always getting divorced, somebody's parents are dying, somebody's having a baby. And I mean, at my cooking party, I get to see all of this circle of life. And the people move away. You lose friends, to the grave. I mean, what do? You continue.
No, I think to be honest with you, we've done 150 of these shows. I think your story of how you bring people in to just cook for them, and you guys cook together and everything, it's phenomenal. I've never heard of another person doing that. I've heard of, we give out pies or we do this, but not, hey, I invited 70 people over. Let's get together. Let's all cook.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that's awesome.
It's a fun event. You guys should come.
So now I know you probably have some good stories, so I want to hear a good one. What do you consider one of your most memorable deals or transactions?
I had a gentleman immigrating, and he asked his friend who lived here to put a deposit on a house that he chose over video, internet. So we were showing that. At that time, he had a problem of getting here, visas, money, transfers, all of this. And we had an agent on the other side of the transaction that every time that I asked for extension, they gave it to us. And we were there 6 months, 6 months extension. And this is existing home, not a new. And then after the deal is closed, between us girls, after that we went, because it was really difficult transaction.
Right.
And I knew the agent really well. She said, you would not believe, because the reason while we were struggling to get this done, actually the lady who was selling the house had no idea where her husband is, because he left with the cleaning lady somewhere in the city, and she had no idea where he is, so she could not go through the transaction. So within the 6 months, and somehow through the attorneys and this, they found, and that was kind of like it worked out for both sides.
Yeah, you don't see a 6 month wait gap work out for both sides. That is crazy.
That was unusual.
But things do tend to work out.
Yep.
I don't know why, but they do tend to work out.
And some call it providence, some believe in God or universe, but most of the things, if you do the proper way and you follow only your own path. You don't look who makes pies, or you don't do whatever. You just do what you do.
Yep. All right.
I'm not going to have a cooking thing because I can't cook. So
You can eat.
I can't eat. I'm very
Can you chop?
I can't.
Can you clean dishes?
Yeah, that I can do.
Oh my goodness.
See, I can clean. That I can do.
Hold on. Let's call his wife to find out. Hold
I
on.
didn't say I do clean. I said I can.
But it's like everyone who comes to my cooking parties, not everybody loves to cook, but everyone comes with the understanding that this is an expense that I do in my event, and everybody tries to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is good. It also gives when you're helping out, there's more camaraderie. You get to know each other better.
Yeah, and you're accomplishing something together.
Yes.
In that case, it was more of a instant gratification, because that's a dish. You make it, you ate it, boom, you got it. Maybe some years later you remember it fondly.
Right.
You ever ran out of food?
No.
No?
I have, this is one of the things that growing up in the environment where everything is scarce. So I have a tendency to over prepare and then at the time when there's so much food, it's like, okay, you're taking it home. And I'm thinking, then tomorrow this person is going to eat lunch and think good thoughts about me. Because
Yep.
some dishes like borscht, it's better for the second day with all the flavors that you get there.
There's a lot of food that's better the second day.
I will disagree with that statement, but
There's a lot.
there's a few.
Not all of
like
them.
chili is good.
Pizza's
Yeah.
better the second day most of the time.
Pizza,
Pizza.
the bread and cheese.
Yeah, but I oven cook it. I don't microwave it.
Ooh,
You
okay.
don't microwave it. It makes it soggy.
You know,
That's my cooking.
think about it. In Italy, the first time I tried pizza and they brought it to me, and there was that bread that was like burned, and there was that tomatoes that swimming in some sort of, I thought it would maybe grease, but it ended up water. And I'm like, ew, and it's not appetizing looking. And then I eat it, and it's like, I don't know how they do it. I mean, it's just amazing. They put happiness in that pasta.
Yeah, they did
They
somehow.
do somehow.
It is crazy when you actually go somewhere else and you see how we basically, let's say, Americanized certain foods. So you go over there, like you said, the pizza is completely different. I mean, it's not the way that we envision when we order from Papa John's.
It's pizza different, pasta different.
Yep.
All these drinks like you have over here, you take Sprite, it's 64 grams of sugar. Over there, it's 10. Why? Can you bring Italian Sprite to Indiana? No, we can.
It's only 10.
It's only 10. That's in there. But I mean, I took a cooking class there because I mean, okay. Like
Why not?
But I always learn. And I mean, this girl, that's like, my name is Ilaria. You take one onion, one carrot, one celery. I mean, she was hilarious. I mean, she taught me how to do, last cooking party, she taught me how to do tiramisu. And we did tiramisu with everyone from scratch. It was really awesome.
Yeah, that
I mean,
would be.
pasta. It was fantastic.
All right, so I want your parties to go from 70 people to over 100. So what is the best way somebody get in touch with you about talking about real estate?
I do have a Facebook page. It's called You Never Know What's Cooking Party. So that's a Facebook page, and you never know what's cooking. The best way to do it is just to friend the page, and then when I post it, show up.
That's awesome.
You don't need to know how many people are coming.
No, I typically over prepare. Like I said, I mean, the lot that I typically have. It's, when it comes from the childhood, when there is some sort of a scarcity, and then you go to the store and there's nothing on the shelves, but you still have a family to feed. So because of that, everybody have connections somewhere. And then you see a butter, and there's like, okay, there's 20 kilos, 40 pounds. Let's have all of it. And then I give so much to my aunt. I give so much to my mom. I give so much to the friend. And that's how with everything. So you go to people's homes and they have everything in abundance and then some for the guests in case they will come. They will have a perfect chocolates and everything else. But you would never see it in the store. So because of that mentality that you have to have extra, I mean, I lived to my almost 54 years and have that, what if I will not be enough? What if they will catch me unprepared? So I would prepare with some over, because I know that if the food will get cooked, then I know I can send it home with people and they will finish it with the leftovers.
Yep, and they'll be thinking of you.
What I wanted to tell you, when I was in India, they have a belief that they cook the food, that God's bless the food, and then they eat it within an hour and a half. And I'm like, yeah, try to sell this to my girlfriends that work, and they prepare the food for a week for them and for the kids and for the lunches. I mean,
just like,
different.
when I was in the car business, a couple of the owners were Arabic, and different countries. I mean, it's interesting how you can be, one brother's born here, one brother's born here, one brother. I mean, it's weird, but that's not the U.S. So, but like they sit down on the floor and they eat with their hands. They don't use utensils. They just grab it and they just start eating. And it's like, it would be a culture shock from us where we're like, oh no, we order our own portion. No. It comes out a big family platter here.
You see, a lot of dishes, you said Arabic. Uzbekistan is close to that side. So a lot of dishes like made with rice. And the way the rice, imagine this is a plate and this is a rice. Typically what it does, it's cooked. You have this out, this 1, 2, 3. And then from here, you kind of push it in your mouth because it's all perfectly cooked when it's not like kasha. It's like every rice is different and it sticks together. So, and then with the hands, utensils, even this, you don't know where they were, but your hands, you can wash it.
Yep.
You know exactly where your hands have been. So you can eat with it. And for it, it's like it would be going sushi and how you take and you eat with the chopsticks.
Yep.
It's the same skill. You just learn it. But eating together, having that family from the same plate, it's like, I don't know, sleeping with somebody. You have to really trust the person to fall asleep right next to them. Eating with someone, you have to really have like all of it meal prepared. You prepared, bless the hands who cooked it. And you sit together, you trust each other enough to reach out with your own hand and eat the food. So that's a culture.
Yep.
It is a culture because I couldn't do it. But to get a hold of Kristina, call 317-441-8752, or you can text that number, 317-441-8752. You can learn about cooking or real estate. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938, and follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
A reminder, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, let us know. We'll be more than happy to help you. Kristina, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Oh, absolutely. The pleasure was all mine.
Thank you.
Yeah, we look forward to the recipes here shortly.
Yeah.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Ripma's NMLS number 6645889. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.